Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rehman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be talking about this India's lower house which has passed a controversial citizenship bill. Now what this bill is all about we'll tell you, but it seems very controversial because of various reasons. Now what it says is that, let me read the story out for you. It says the lower house of Indian Parliament, Lok Sabha, has passed a controversial bill to grant citizenship to religious minorities from the neighboring countries. It says, after a marathon 12-hour session, 311 members of the parliament on Monday voted in favor of the measure despite concerns the bill violates the spirit of India's secular constitution, whereas 80 people voted against it and 311 in favor. The Citizenship Amendment Bill, which is also called CAB, seeks to amend 1955 law to grant citizenship to Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Christians, Sikhs and Parsis facing persecution in Pakistan, Bangladesh or Afghanistan, but excludes the Muslims. Now that is the question why. It also says that the activists and some opposition parties have said the proposed law is discriminatory in what they believe that the critics say that it is a fresh attempt to sideline the nearly 200 million strong Muslim minority. Now this is something we'll be talking about in our today's program, and also on top, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Imran Khan, has also strongly condemned the Indian Lok Sabha citizenship legislation, which violates all norms of international human rights law and bilateral arrangements with Pakistan. It is part of the RSS, the Hindu Rashtra design of expansionism propagated by the fascist Modi government. Whereas Shiri Mazari, the Minister for Human Rights in Pakistan, has also tweeted and said, while the world marks Human Rights Day today, it cannot ignore the massive human rights violations being committed by the Indian occupying government in Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, where its occupation forces use rape as a weapon of war, use inhumane weapons like pellet guns against women, children and elderly. Now this was stated by the Minister for Human Rights in Pakistan. Now to talk about this, we have with us in our studio, let me introduce you to our panelists. We have with us, on my right is Lieutenant General retired Talat Masood Saab, who's a senior analyst, is a columnist, writer. Thank you very much, sir. And we have with us Ambassador Shahid M.G. Kyani Saab, who's a senior diplomat and educationist as well, sir. Thank you very much. And we have with us Dr. Raja Kaisar Saab. Raj Saab is a foreign affairs expert. Thank you very much, Raj, sir, for taking out the time and being a part of our show. Now, sir, on this particular day, when we're talking about the Human Rights Day and we're talking about the violations taking place all over India, and in particular in Jammu and Kashmir, the Indian lower parliament, the Lok Sabha, primarily 311 voted in favor, 80 voted against. So this was primarily, sir, more than 4/5 of the people who actually supported this law. Pakistan is criticizing, it says that rest of the minorities other than the Muslims, they will not be granted any citizenship, and this is primarily for all those minorities living in the neighboring countries that include Bangladesh, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Your take, General Saab, on this particular point?
I think we have to understand this problem in its totality.
Sir.
What India is trying to do, as I understand, that they are trying to change the demography of Assam. And what they are saying that we are willing to sort of accept all these Hindus which may already be there, or they are inviting them to come from these three countries. And obviously, they are also saying that those Muslims who are living in Assam, they are not citizens of Assam. So,
no matter how long they've been there.
And apparently they have been there ever since partition. And some of them have, lived there for a lifetime. So what they are trying to do is, they haven't given them the citizenship. They are going to push them out and bring these people in. So this is really the game that they are playing, so that Assam also becomes a full-fledged sort of a Hindu dominated, majority dominated region. So, state. So this is the real game, and this is very typical of BJP, which has a Hindu sort of an agenda to completely change the character of India and turn it into a Hindu theocratic state.
So primarily when they say that it's a secular state and it's for everyone, all
Well, I
the
mean, I
religious
think that is a
minorities are
thing of the
expected and
past.
respected.
I think that's a thing of the past. That's what I think. And nowadays, there is no such thing as being secular as far as India is concerned. It's very much Hindu state, and they seem to sort of take pride in that. And they say that these Muslims, they occupied India. They are not indigenous to India. So I think they have completely, a different mentality, a different their theory of as far as citizenship is concerned, and they are extremely prejudiced against Muslims. And so I have a feeling that the future of the Muslims in India is extremely, in a state of, they are very much worried, very concerned, and the human rights organizations, they may be raising their voice in certain capitals of the world, but India doesn't seem to be moved at all, because
They are
none
very
of them,
consistent in their policies and they're exactly following the same agenda.
yeah, and the world capitals are completely silent, because their policies are governed by expediency. They are not pushed at all. So you have a situation where the Muslims and the only countries which probably are raising their voices, Pakistan and Malaysia, and to some extent Turkey.
Yeah.
But that is not enough unless the big powers, major powers, really raise their voice, and also the UN.
Those who
and
matter are silent, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the UN takes
Absolutely.
notice.
Now,
of it.
Ambassador Saab, a couple of points. First of all, sir, the same point I want you to take further. But let me add something. So what would be the future of all these people? Millions of Muslims live on those areas. You remember what was happening when this issue of Myanmar took place, when Rohingyas were killed left, right and center. The whole entire villages were set on fire. Those poor people just walked for weeks and weeks without any food or water, sir. And they were hunted down by the military. And these are not only from Myanmar. I mean, people from Bangladesh, people who are indigenous people who were born even in Assam, Bihar for that matter, and this Bengal area in particular, sir. Historically, if you see, when you talk about this movement which gained momentum and eventually Pakistan was separate, I mean, whether you talk about the Congress started from this area, sir, Bengal. So the case was very clear that, when you talk about the political strength, it had to originate from that area, sir.
I have seen myself personally what happens to people, meaning who they don't even know their forefathers when they came. I'll just give you an historical example. Look at what the Indians have done. It has serious implication. But look at people who are statesmen. Look at Nelson Mandela coming out of the jail, and people were waiting,
with resignation letters.
No. But they're waiting. Oh, what is he going to do about the Boers? Those who came, the Dutch, those who had governed that country for hundreds of years. And look what he says. He says, no, South Africa is a rainbow country. They have been here. They don't even know when their forefathers came to this country. And gave them confidence, gave them the ownership of that country. And that's how this country has progressed. Now, unfortunately, what has happened is that India, whose, whatever the fig leaf of secularism was, their Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, a stalwart of independence, like Mahatma Gandhi and Muhammad Ali Jinnah of Quaid-e-Azam. No, he in a way, in some manner, believed in secularism. That was a fig leaf. But the first thing he does is that he, puts Sheikh Abdullah behind bars, because he was the only leader of a Muslim majority area, region, whatever the Indian occupied Kashmir. Now, secularism, I tell you frankly, died in India on the passing away of Jawaharlal Nehru. Her daughter, look what she did, Operation Blue Star, when Sikhs were massacred in Amritsar. So
what happened in Golden Temple?
Golden Temple. Now, one of the very interesting book of Indira Gandhi, Indira, by Indra Malhotra, if you read the book, Mrs. Gandhi was a very high, pure, as it's called, Brahmin. She would not like to invite her own defense minister, Jagjeevan Ram, who was from the lower caste. He never visited Mrs. Gandhi's house. This is just a personal thing I'm telling you. Now, why it matters us, we should be able to see how some people, it's an internal matter of India. Okay, this argument is there, but how does it matter to us? The thing is that there are thousands of Pakistanis whose families, close relations, are living in India. Every single day the Samjhauta Express train goes there and they meet them. It's the largest minority in India are Muslims, and they've been made insecure. They have been told now you have to dig up documents to prove that you are Muslims, that you're Indian citizens. How on earth would the Indians in UP, in Bihar, in so many provinces, loyal citizens of that country, believe it or not, which have produced Dr. Kalam, and they have produced another Muslim, Dr. Zakir Hussain. Now these people, Dr. Azad, Dr. Abdul Kalam Azad.
Abdul Kalam Azad.
Now these are the people the India has produced, and now they are asking these Muslims to produce a document to show. From where will they dig up a document to prove that these Muslims are, they're making them insecure? They will be, believe it or not, this is one of the, and it reminds me, look at Hitler. He forced the Jews to wear they used to wear a badge in
so
which
that they can be recognized.
David cross. They used to, so they can be recognized. Are they want to do that? Meaning, if they have a problem, you see, we can understand that the problem, as General Sahib was saying, of Assam, where thousands of, millions of these people have come, but those people now they're third or fourth generation. This migration is an international phenomena where people migrate. Look at our names. If you look at the names anywhere in Pakistan or in India, you have the names where people migrated for thousands of years. Now, do they carry documents with them? They don't. Are they going to create these people stateless? This is a beginning of a very serious problem. And you have asked, why are the West quiet? And I'll tell you why. There is a wave of extreme right in the whole of Europe. And it has been, the oxygen which they're getting is these incidents which happen, like which happened in the London Bridge just a few days back. This fuels the so President Trump himself, most of the Western countries are run by either conservative parties or extreme right parties. For them, this is just something, it resonates with them. It is most unfortunate what's happening, and we should condemn all countries, sane countries should condemn what has happened in India. This is something, and look what they have done, the Indian occupied Kashmir, again because they are Muslims there.
So primarily there's a war against the Muslims. I mean, this regime is anti-Muslim.
Absolutely. No, not.
Will that be a
it is
correct
today.
statement,
No, it is today Muslims. Tomorrow you will see it will be against the
Sikhs or any
other Sikhs and other minority. This is just a beginning. Meaning, I'm surprised. Would this India be left only for Hindus? What sort of policy would that be?
Hindutva.
Hindutva.
RSS, exactly.
Then would India be happy with the maybe there are about, I think, 180 or 20 million, 18 or 19 crore Muslims living in India? Would they be, and they are insecure, they will tell them, okay, no more Muslim, don't come to the office tomorrow, because they cannot work anywhere in the government offices because they are not Indian citizens.
So primarily that two-state theory, that's proven right on so many accounts. Now, Rasa, first of all, tell us about the future of these people. Will they go? I mean, what about their identity? Who are these people? And what if they are like sort of flushed out from India? Do you think the government of Bangladesh is going to accept them, or some other country for that matter, sir?
Well, thank you, Faisal. Before coming to your question, I would like to add to our preceding conversation. Well, it is none other than BJP and RSS which have proved that Jinnah was on the right side of the history. So they have actually bailed him out, that what was his fear, what was his apprehension, they have come all together real time true in 2019 with Modi 2.0. What India has done yesterday, it is something even more egregious when it comes to, because they have totally defined the notion of the citizenship. They have changed the notion of citizenship from civic to ethnic one. So this is something which is unprecedented and which is uncharacteristic. It has it is tantamount to an assault on Indian secularism, though which is now a daydream and which is no more existent in India anymore. But what is even more perturbing point over here is that India, it has gotten decolonized, but it could not have gotten civilized. So this is what is coming true. And frankly speaking, when we say that Indian secularism, there had never been secularism. It was an experience which India made with secularism. There was a tryst with secularism, but India was never a secular society. Or India never had been a secular and pluralist polity. You see, even the grade 22 Muslim officers had to buy the houses in the Jhumpadpatti of Mumbai. They were never allowed to buy flats when even Congress was in power. Even Javed Akhtar and Shabana Azmi, they were not allowed to buy flat in Mumbai. So when these are the striking and the bitter realities. India, what I always fancy quoting Arundhati Roy on this. She says that India is simultaneously living in 3 centuries. So a majority, the vast majority of India, they are still living in the 19th century. A few of them, they are living in the 20th century, and barely a minimum and a marginal minority is living in the 21st century. So this is what is coming true. In fact, what is happening right now in India, you see, and coming to that point, when I say that India never had been a secular country. Recently in my visit to Turkey, when I went on to attend the World Forum on Kashmir, there I met the member of the Sikh World Parliament, Ranjit Singh, and he said that Indira Gandhi was the Narendra Modi of our times. So, what she did to, like Ambassador Saab was pointing out, and the General Saab was also making a mention to this fact. So India never had been a pluralist society, a pluralist polity. This was a political secularism, and BJP had altogether reversed it. This was, this is something which comes true to them, or which comes to them as a vengeance of 1,000-year rules of Muslims. This is something, an inferiority complex. This is something which is deep bogged down into their nerves, into their hearts and souls, and they cannot get rid of this thing. They at times they want to rewrite history. At times they want to, say that Hindi.
Now there is a debate going on that Taj Mahal could be actually something, not made by the Muslims or Shah Jahan for that matter, and they believe that
they are renaming the cities,
Yeah.
change the Allahabad to Priya Garage, and do all these things. All of these things, they are symptomatic of the fact, Faisal, that India is undergoing,
history is being changed.
Yeah,
Correct?
India is undergoing a social and political transformation. This Modi is not a phenomenon. Please, it is a new normal now. It is a new reality which we will have to live with. This, as if we get to accept this reality as earlier, it would be more beneficial for us. We believe that perhaps this is a phenomenon, and something would come in, our Congress would make a comeback and things would get better. No, this is not going to be the case.
I mean, just look at the number of people who supported for the bill, 311, whereas 80 opposed it. So you can well imagine
this,
that
this speaks volume of that vision of the Hindu Rashtra. This is which had been always on the cards, which had been there. This is what Indians they wanted to do. This is what the majority of Indians, they actually subscribe to this idea. So, and in democracy is the tyranny of majority. This is what is happening right now in India. And this is where Muslims, Sikhs, people in Nagaland, people in Kashmir, all of these things, they actually substantiate and corroborate this thing that this Modi 2.0 is going to be more disastrous. It is going to be more disingenuous than it was than he was in his previous term, and will have to be very cautious about
and the
this
best
thing,
part is, look at the days they are choosing to do it. That's pretty interesting also. I mean, you talk about Kashmir, the 5th of August, that particular statement or the particular action taken by the government to sort of abrogate Article 370 eventually resulted in what is happening currently in Kashmir. So it's been over around 4 months now, and they are still living under curfew. Now, Jalsa, do you really believe that India is actually going through a socio-political transition period, sir? And if so, what will change, say, in another 10 years to 15 years from now, sir? That India of 80s or 90s, it doesn't exist anymore. Though we always had very hostile relationship with our neighbor. But this seems dangerous also, sir.
Well, I think you have raised a very important point in the sense that the internal transformation of India is going to have a very serious impact on Pakistan. It's already having a very
On the neighboring
serious-
countries also, sir.
Yeah, well, that is true, but I think the maximum impact would be on Pakistan. The worst sort of a relationship would be with Pakistan, and it's extremely unfortunate because all the political leadership and also the military leadership in Pakistan have been wanting and has been sort of trying also in the past, although not with any success, but nonetheless it showed their intention that they wanted to live in peace with the neighbor, try to solve the problems in a peaceful manner, and they thought that these matters are of a political nature and need to be addressed politically. But all that now is, I think, vanished in thin air, and we have to face this reality and live with India till such time that which may never come in our lifetimes. That they are so hostile towards us and so discriminatory. And India is also, and especially Prime Minister Modi and his government, thinks that at this time their position globally is very strong because of a rising sort of, well, although their economy...
It's a rising power and obviously rising economy
power,
as
although
well.
their economy isn't doing so well. In fact, it's only 4.5% growth.
And nobody's
but
opposing their decisions,
Yeah.
basically.
But and I think the fact that they are also considered to be a very good country to challenge China at the regional level, that's a very major aspect as far as the Western world is concerned. They also think that India is democratic, whereas China is not. So, and then obviously the business and the economic opportunities that India offers because of its population also is a great incentive for the Western world and for
The
Russia
Western interests,
and
basically.
for others not to speak out and just to ignore what they are doing to the Muslims. In any case, many of these very countries from whom one would have expected that they would raise their voice, their governments would say something. They themselves have become very discriminatory against Muslims. So they don't have much, you must have seen over the years how Muslims are being discriminated even in some of the some of the Western countries, those who are supposed to be the champions of democracy and human rights and so on. So I think we have to live with it, but it's a huge challenge. And for Pakistan, as you very rightly raise, as to how do we maneuver and how do we sort of see to it that you have a neighbor, it's so hostile towards you, it is not willing to talk to you, it is not willing to solve the problems which are a live problem of Kashmir. It is not a problem which could be sort of set aside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these things are there, and it poses a very serious foreign policy challenge to Pakistan. And also Pakistan has to be very careful internally. But at the same time, I think we need to understand that this can also be an incentive for Pakistan to get united internally, to also solve its problems, to become much more stronger.
If they realize.
If they realize. So I think, sometimes what happens is that if you have an enmity or there are your neighbors who are so unreasonable and so inimical, and that could act as an incentive for countries to sort of unite and to really stand up to them so that you are not compromised.
Now, sir, when you look at the Israeli model of expansion, the way, whether you talk about the Golan Heights, you talk about certain areas, you talk about Jerusalem for that matter, sir, they're expanding. Now they're also talking about this border that is going to be recognized as an official border with Jordan, Israel and Jordan. A lot of support, obviously, from the Americans, almost $3 billion plus a year, ever since they came into being. And other than that, I mean, you talk about the top-of-the-line military equipment or the kind of assets they have. So it's a very powerful country with the absolute support of the Americans. So they are challenging every other country, left, right, and center, or around Israel. Now, so in this particular case, it seems as if they have adopted the same formula, whether you look at it in terms of changing the demographics in Kashmir, or you talk about how they're handling the situation in Assam, Bihar for that matter, in Nagaland and elsewhere. How many other areas do you think, sir, they can practically control this way? Because this is 2020, this is the 21st century. 2019 is almost ending.
Yeah.
The third decade of this century is about to start. Do you think, sir, these kind of solutions which are brewing in the minds of the Indians or the Hindutva party in particular is going to yield any results, sir? Or do you believe that at some stage this could trigger an absolute conflict from top to south to east to west in Khalistan for that matter, sir?
Let me first tell you, you talk about Israel. I think it's one of the most insecure states, believe it or not. It is very, very, very insecure state. Why India, why Israel, just one second, why it continues to expand and continues to occupy? Because of the total silence in the Arab world. It is the leadership, not the people, the leadership. Look at what they did with the issue of Kashmir. Meaning they thought that, you know, these people in occupied Kashmir is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan, they can be ignored. They have now threatened all these Muslim Arab countries left and right, and they are totally silent, and that's why the lot of the Palestinians, only few countries are left now who are raising the voice of Palestine. What is the irony? Non-Arab countries, Israel, Iran, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, but a few
Maybe
countries.
Turkey, that's it. Out of those 57, no, you can't even count 5.
Not
on
even
your,
five. So
yeah.
they think they can get away with it. They don't realize that the ambitions of Israel is totally different. They want to control the whole area, and they will control it with the non-democratic leaders in the Arab world. Unfortunately, what this is. Coming on to India, you see, look at what's happening in India. If you look at the judgment given on the Ayodhya Babri Masjid, you remember?
Yes.
In spite of all the proof the judges had that such a temple never existed, but a mosque existed, but because they looked out of the window and they saw that the condition, the environment was controlled by the ruling party.
Ruling
So
party, yeah,
they
Hindu mobs, basically.
So they could ill afford to give a
Anybody
decision.
who would give a statement against them, oh my God, they'll take him to task.
Now, what will happen is the Indians now are gloating, people in the parliament and the majority Hindu. Okay, this is fine. They don't realize that that's unfair judgments of the Supreme Court and unfair parliament, which it could impact very negatively on the common Indian in the long term. They don't realize, because such decisions and judgments which try to push a substantial number of citizens, I wouldn't want to call them minorities. The Muslims have been part and parcel of that country for centuries. They will be. Now they are being told to prove that they are Indians. What is this happening? Would it be? And look, these Indians, the Muslims, are working. They have shops. They are working in the government offices. Tomorrow they will be told that you see you are no more. The sense of insecurity amongst the Muslims, this is not going to work in the long term. They are going to create again some Muslims
Will it trigger some sort of a revolt?
Absolutely. The Muslims, the youth especially, people who have been told to prove that they are no more Indians, then they will do whatever is possible to revolt
So primarily,
and to protest.
the status of the Muslims, Kyani Saab, would be somewhat like the status of the Muslims in Kashmir. Is this what is happening, sir?
Much more insecure, because the Muslims in
At least in Kashmir, they recognize them.
Absolutely.
As local people over here, it's a different ballgame now.
They have never asked them to prove that they are not citizens. Here they have been asked to prove the citizens, and you see, and the worst thing, unfortunately, the whole of South Asia is dictated by religion. You see, they are wearing the religion on their sleeves. In the West,
Saffron bans,
saffron,
and you name it.
in the Western countries, this is no more an issue. So here now the level of literacy is so low, both in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, other, that people will take them among themselves the right to ask us somebody, are you citizen or not. The last worst thing about happening is Bangladesh is quiet, totally silent. If the Indian government decides to push all people into Bangladesh, what is going to have to happen to Bangladesh?
Will they accept them? No.
No, they will not. Then what
They did not accept the Rohingyas even.
You will see what is going to happen. Today, as I was talking to you, see the Ms. Sushi is in the criminal court and answering questions about the Rohingyas.
So-called the champion of democracy.
The champions of democracy. So tomorrow, Indian couldn't care less about Bangladesh, I tell you very frankly. Today they are toasting them, they're thinking that Modi is friend of Bangladesh. No more. You will see what is going to happen to Bangladesh, a country which overpopulated. You see, smaller, very small country. I've lived in this country for more than a year. I can understand. India has never been friends of Bangladesh, believe it or not. And Bangladesh remaining quiet at this time is a serious blunder.
Primarily, the Indians in Bangladesh, what they want is that they should also have anti-Pakistan sentiments in Bangladesh. That's the problem. Now, Raja, very important question for you. Definitely go on with this, but also talk about the future of Pakistan and India regarding the talks, whatever name you may give it to, comprehensive dialogue, strategic dialogue, or an important dialogue, whatever. I don't think this is happening in the future, sir.
Indeed. Well, Faisal, before that, I would like to add again to the existing conversation. See, here I quote Magnan Desai in his book, The Rediscovery of India, and he says that Indian secularism had always been dual-faced when it comes to criminal prosecutions. Ambassador had quoted this Ayodhya verdict. Even the top of the worst verdict is Afzal Guru's verdict.
Oh yes.
Where there was no conviction, because just that the court ruled that since the majority of the Indians, they consider him the culprit for these
2001 attacks.
2001 attacks, so that is why we are giving him the death penalty. So with this kind of mindset.
And what kind of a trial was that? Imagine.
And
still, I still remember that 7 people arrived. 1 was still missing in action. Nobody knows about him. 1 was caught. Rest were killed. Right, sir?
Yeah. And a very important point has been raised here by Ambassador Saab about Bangladesh. You see, many, a few of the people, they know about what was India's legal stance when India invaded in 1971. It was demographic aggression. Indira Gandhi used the legal pretext of demographic aggression upon Pakistan to invade in East Pakistan.
Flood of refugees.
Yeah, flood of refugees. So now they would, by the token of the same argument, they would ask all of those refugees to vacate India. And Bangladesh would be at the receiving end, because they migrated from the Bangladesh by then. 4 to 5 million refugees migrated in that period of 1970 and 1971 from East Pakistan to Assam and West Bengal. So now they would be asked to vacate it. So Bangladesh would be at forefront and it would be at the receiving end. So what is happening right now in India is unprecedented, is uncharacteristic, but it is a new normal. We have to accept this reality.
It's a new normal,
so
but this normal
now I am coming to your question.
Yeah.
Please. Now I am coming to your question. What is the future? There is no future. It seems completely bleak. We have to set our house in order. I think our unilateral persuasions vis-a-vis India, they had always gone in vain.
Let me use another word, not in vain, sir. They have failed miserably.
They have failed miserably. Our all attempts to appease India, they failed. We even
gave them the status of the most favorite nation.
We disengaged Kashmir and we said, okay, let's discuss on all other things during Musharraf era.
So many proposals were given during that time, yes.
That has failed. So now, I remember Mani Dixit saying it once, that Kashmir is the litmus test of India's great power status. So India would never compromise on it. India is up to establish a notion that India can act unilaterally like any other major power. And India is not debarred by any legal underpinning in doing that. So this is what they want to do. And this is what even Brijesh Mishra had been saying time and again, that we have had one partition at the time of 1947, there would be no another partition again. So, with that mindset, with that, myopic view, as I said in the earlier, that India is right now living in 3 centuries simultaneously, with the people of primitive thinking, with the people of archaic conceptions, and with those constructions which are not relevant. And
Still believe in the caste
Imran Khan
system.
very aptly and appropriately terms them and equates them to Nazism and calls them fascists. They are, this is the proto-fascist regime right now operating in India. Modi is a maniac, and this duo of Modi and Amit Shah, it is going to wreak havoc. Please be prepared about this thing. They are going to do anything. I have been saying it repeatedly.
I'll give you a very interesting example,
Arslan. Last point. I have been saying one thing repeatedly, and we will again, that time will be taken by surprise. They will abrogate Indus Water Treaty as well.
1961, huh?
They will.
Now,
they will.
this is what they want. They have said, and everyone is, this concept of MAD, M-A-D, MAD, Modi, Amit Shah and Dawal. The point is that this is a very interesting revision somebody's made.
He had been saying it.
This group of MAD is actually...
very recently, 2 months before, he made it he said it in a public speech that I'll bring your water home.
All right.
I'll not let it go to Pakistan. And that gentleman, in his chest thumping and in his false consciousness and in his narcissism, he hails himself, what he says, he means it. So, and he has actually established this to his bhakts and to his people and to his supporters. That Modi jo kehta hai, wo karta hai. So, Modi means business. So, with this conception or with this kind of a mad and a maniac right now controlling New Delhi and the reins of power over there, be very cautious.
And what worries me is that India is a nuclear power, and that's the problem. Now, sir, since today is also marked as the National Human Rights Day, your point on that particular part, so that do we really care about the human rights in today's world, sir, or might is right again, sir? If one Gora dies, that becomes the leading story on CNN. And Trump eventually withdraws from the peace process. But if thousands of Muslims are being killed, starting from Africa to Middle East, you name it, is what's happening in Syria, nobody talks about it in that detail. So, quick 1 minute comment and then over to the rest of the panelists, sir. Please.
Well, I think you are very right in the sense that the lives of people of different countries, of different religions, weighs differently in the minds of the Western world. For instance, they would not be pushed about the lives being lost in Afghanistan because they are Muslims, they are poor, and but if there is one American which is killed, obviously it attracts the attention of the president, and he would even take a policy U-turns in order to sort of declare that how much he cares for the Americans, although that may not be the reason, but I'm just saying that at least he says that. So really, if you want your people to be sort of counted, if you want your countries to be counted, if you want your religion to be counted, then I think you have to also establish yourself in the global competition that goes on every time and every moment. And that is economy, political development, strategic positions of these countries. Where do they stand? They are at the bottom in all these 3 criteria. If that be so, then you don't expect that their people, their population would be regarded and considered and respected the way that the other countries are. Look at the policies that the Muslim countries are pursuing themselves. Look how many Muslim countries have anything to do with science and technology, what they have to do with democracy. So in which field are we really excelling? What inventions are we making? So all these things count in order to promote your position in the global world, which is highly competitive. So I think we also need to understand that when you have these pressures, you need to also strengthen yourself. And the way you can strengthen yourself is by advancing.
You need to have a proper counter strategy for that, sir. Ambassador,
just 2 points. First of all, why do you want to criticize the West? Commend them. If they want to look after their own people, commend them.
बिल्कुल
The fact that the whole Muslim world is quiet about the plight of the Palestinians and the Kashmiris. Just a minute. Do you want to blame them? Have they come and told you, please don't raise your voice? If you, the whole Muslim world will forget the Palestinians and the Kashmiris and the Rohingyas, then this is going to happen. I need to commend the West if they want to look after their own people and they are bothered about people and they are really annoyed if one of them kills. This is what it is. Second, what General Saab was saying, in all your budgets in the last 70 years, how much have you allocated to health and education? You see, there are three state responsibilities: security, health and education. Job creation, not the job. What have you done?
Failed on all the three accounts.
What? Absolutely. So once you focus on improving the lives of your own people, improve the skills of your people, improve the literacy rate, improve the health of your people, the skills, then only one and make the country more secure. That is how serve the country. A knowledge-based society, not a society in which you live in fear. This is not, and in which sorry to say, we every day announce that this is a health card, this is a card. What is this? This is the responsibility of the state to provide these things.
Absolutely. Raja Saab, closing remarks from you.
Just three concluding remarks. One, I remember saying of this NDTV editor once, he said that if the rest of the world would judge India in the moral pretext, then it would never be able to do trade with India. So that is one reality we need to accept it, that India is a consumerist destination for the rest of the world, and the rest of the world would never compromise on it. They would go to any extent bailing out India, one thing. Secondly, Leon Trotsky used to say it, and we must always remember that your diplomacy is the reflection of your power. So, again, and third thing, in the Chinese proverbial thinking, Chinese, they often say that there are three types of disputes. One which emerge out as crisis and you have to address them in the immediate offing. Then there are the conflicts which do have their legal underpinnings. You do your homework, you understand all the intricacies and you address them. And then you have the issues and the conflicts for which you have to raise one entire generation. And it takes centuries to sort
consistent and constant effort.
Constant effort.
Absolutely.
I think we South Asians are very emotional and we wish results to erupt overnight, and we wish to grasp the things overnight. That's why our cricketing hero is Shahid Afridi, not Yunus Khan. So that's a reality. So a shortcut sort of thing. So but I think we'll have to cultivate a narrative. We'll have to make ourselves internally strong.
That is exactly
and then
what
we'll
should
have
be
to
the way forward,
pursue. And Chinese example is in front of us.
Absolutely.
The way they commanded the resolution over Hong Kong. I mean, it's an example.
Anyway, Raja, thank you very much. It was a pleasure, Ambassador Saab, and thank you very much, Raja Saab. But before I conclude, let me also read out a couple of tweets regarding this particular issue on the Human Rights Day. Prime Minister Imran Khan says, on Human Rights Day, we must appeal to the world's conscience, to upholders of the international law, and to the UNSC to act against the illegal annexation of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir by the Indian occupation government. We condemn the occupying Indian government's siege of Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, ongoing for over 4 months now, and demand on the International Human Rights Day, Muslims need to remember that the message of equality, justice and protection of human rights for all was given more than 1400 years ago by our Prophet, peace be upon him. This embodied the cardinal principles of respect for human rights and human dignity. Anyway, with this we come to the end of our show. I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Khuda Hafiz.